Lineups for Purdue Fort Wayne. They are led by John Conchar, an outstanding rebounding guard who moved into 5th in program history in total points already this season. For Ohio State, they, of course, are led by a very young lineup. And Caleb Wesson is an all-Big Ten player from a season ago. It's just a
Fort Wayne Mastodons, let's not forget, Chris, went on the road and dropped 17 threes in Bloomington to follow up that win they had a season earlier at home.
So certainly do not expect Purdue Fort Wayne to be intimidated by the moment at all as Ohio State wins the opening tip. An outstanding and very patriotic crowd on hand inside Value City Arena. Caleb Wesson goes right to work, and it's a fast start for Ohio State inside.
Nice job by Wesson of riding his defender up the lane, and then a good entry feed led him right to the rim for the finish.
Wesson actually showed some long-range game against Cincinnati. Air ball that time from Kaysen Harrell, the senior out of Pittsburgh. Kyle Young, who played 35 minutes in that road win for Ohio State. Here's Andre Wesson to younger brother Caleb.
Nice.
All day for Young.
Really good job of moving without the basketball. And Caleb Wesson, as a true freshman last year, Chris, was really impressive with his hands as well as his willingness to pass out of the post. And there's where Conchar is such a difficult matchup. Look, he's known as a three-point shooter, but this is an athletic guy that can get to the rim. And Luther Muhammad has his hands full initially here as a freshman guarding the fifth-year senior.
Conchar plays with such an efficiency that it doesn't always look like he's a high-energy player, but he is very dangerous. There's Luther Muhammad, the true freshman from New Jersey, and he draws the foul.
And Caleb Wesson, over 56% shooting from the floor. Now watch the patience, understanding from where the double comes, and then if you're Kyle Young, you have to understand that you can't become a spectator. When his defender leaves for the double, it's much like a blitz in football. Wherever the blitz is coming from, that's where the open receiver is. Young's defender went down for the double. Young dove. Wesson found him.
And we're a minute and 15 seconds into this game, and John Conchar already has a foul, so credit the freshman, Luther Muhammad, for that in part. Luther Muhammad with 11 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist, and a block in his Ohio State debut last week against Cincinnati. We think Purdue Fort Wayne's best chance to pull off an upset here is if they get red hot from beyond the arc. That was the key to their back-to-back upset wins over Indiana each of the last 2 seasons.
They averaged 10 made threes per ball game a year ago, so it's certainly not out of their framework to put up double-digit made threes. And this guy, the center, knocked down 4 a year ago at Bloomington, continuing where he left off.
6 feet 11 inches tall, Dylan Carl from Alma High School in Michigan. When he came into the Purdue Fort Wayne program, he weighed around 170 pounds. They've been feeding him literally 4 peanut butter sandwiches a day just to get some weight on him.
We will find out as age moves along that gaining 25 pounds will not be that difficult. They need him to do it now. As life's road unfolds, he will find it far more easy than he wishes.
Now, you don't speak from experience there. I mean, you still look great.
I can eat. Well, it's the lighting in here, Chris. They're doing wonders with laser.
And the Diet Coke.
Yeah. It's a well-oiled machine that you're working with here.
Dylan Carl, who just made the 3-point basket, was whistled for his first foul as C.J. Jackson fires a bit long from 3. And it belongs to Purdue Fort Wayne, last touched by Kyle Young.
And they also got a foul. Nice job right there of blocking out by Purdue Fort Wayne. They put a body on this much larger front line of Ohio State and forced them to come over the top. Nice job there.
We mentioned Conchar is listed at only 6 feet 5 inches tall, but he's averaging 7.5 rebounds per game through his first 2 this year for Purdue Fort Wayne. They opened the season on the road against number 21 UCLA.
Good job by Muhammad staying down low.
It's a freshman on a 5th-year senior. As Matt Holba shoots long, Jackson the rebound, and Ohio State looks to run. Young goes straight.
Picking up where he left off. You mentioned it earlier, Chris. Just an outstanding performance on the road with 10 points and 8 boards in that impressive win at Cincinnati.
He hardly ever came off the floor, something that Chris Holtmann said is not going to happen quite to that extent every game. He played about 35 minutes. 50 move by Jackson. Hard pick set by Caleb Wesson. He can shoot if he gets the ball, but it goes to his brother Andre instead.
You can see what Purdue Fort Wayne's trying to do. They're trying to collapse and force the Buckeyes to shoot over the top.
Conchar with the rebound. Chris Holtmann told us today during shoot-around that if Andre Wesson averages 7 to 11 points per game for Ohio State, the offense will be in pretty good shape. The runner eventually goes in. See if they credit Casey Harrell for that bucket.
I think they did give that to Harrell, but a nice job of breaking down Ohio State defensively. They reversed the ball with the skip and kind of got the Buckeyes in a scramble situation. That allowed the shot fake because they have to worry about Harrell knocking down threes. He took advantage of that, the shot fake, and got to the rim.
Both teams have hit their shots in the early going of this first half. Again, the first meeting ever between Ohio State and Purdue Fort Wayne. C.J. Jackson. Conchar, another rebound.
Nice job again by the Mastodons of blocking out.
And another triple for Purdue Fort Wayne. That's Marcus DeBerry, the redshirt junior from Union City, Tennessee.
Started his career at Northern Arizona, so he goes from one of my favorite mascots, the Lumberjacks, to the Mastodons.
The Mastodons, one of the few mascots in college sports with an extinct organism as its mascot.
What a pass again by Caleb Wesson. The big fella showing you can play through him. He doesn't have to score to be effective. They played through him. It's paid dividends. Watch Wesson keep the ball high. Jackson moving, completion for a chance at a three-point play when we return. Columbus to be not only a capable, but most importantly, a willing passer. Most recently, to C.J. Jackson. That's why the senior is at the line for the chance at the three-point play.
Jackson converts that three-point play, and you know a thing or two about the Wesson family. When you were at Northwestern, you played against Caleb and Andre's dad, Keith, right?
I like to say that I got my rear end kicked by just about anybody that wore a jersey, and Keith Wesson was one heck of a player here in Columbus. Really a gritty defender, all-around outstanding player, and Caleb and Andre have been nice additions here to this Ohio State program, continuing a nice family tradition.
Well, I appreciate the self-deprecation, partner, but the numbers certainly that you put up at Northwestern beg to differ. Foul inside. That's on Caleb Wesson, as a matter of fact, his first. There is Chris Holtmann. He led Ohio State to a 25-9 record in his first season at the helm of the program. They were 15-3 in conference, and I think exceeded expectations in a lot of ways.
Yeah, they had an outstanding season. Kata Bates-D up the player of the year in the league. And look, if you can coach, you can coach. And it's witnessed by the fact that Coach Holtmann has been coach of the year in 3 different conferences.
Man in the restricted circle a moment ago for Ohio State. Jaden Ledee is also a true freshman for Ohio State. And he almost had his first field goal as a Buckeye. He did not play in the opener against Cincinnati, but instead he goes to the foul line. And a really nice job by Ledee of running the floor. I mean, watch him. He's in the back part, and you can just see him coming into your screen right here on a dead sprint. And a nice job by the freshman of running to the rim, and he's rewarded because of the heads-up court play of the senior C.J. Jackson. Ledee is listed at 6'9", 230. He's from Houston. And here's that hustle once again.
Now watch where he starts. He's in the restricted area, and the ball pops loose. Now he doesn't become a spectator. He sprints. Watch how many guys, Chris, he passes on his way to the rim. And if you're going to run that hard, it's always nice to get rewarded, and C.J. Jackson did just that.
There's his first point as a Buckeye. The first of what Chris Holtmann and crew hopes will be many in Ohio State uniform. But Purdue Fort Wayne, as expected, playing Ohio State tough on the road in the early going. Matt Weir, the backup point guard on the dribble. Here's Matt Holba, the transfer from Lehigh, nearly lost it, but he's backed up by Casey Harrell.
Nice job defensively, moving the feet by Ohio State.
That was Keyshawn Woods, the Wake Forest transfer. Carl with 5 to shoot. He's now 2 for 2 from long range.
You might want to find him. Because if he gets his feet set, he has shown here so far this afternoon he can knock it down 2 of 2 from behind the arc.
Carl was 1 for 11 in his first 2 games of the season for Purdue Fort Wayne. He's right at home facing a Big Ten opponent. Remember, he had the 14 points last year against Indiana. That's Andre Wesson with the deuce.
Nice job by Andre Wesson of utilizing that rhythm dribble and waiting for the traffic to clear so he could rise up over the top, and we have an illegal screen.
Carl set it.
A lot of times they like to play through Caleb Wesson, but here it's Andre Wesson who takes the smaller defender down. Really good job, because it looked like Conchar was going to come down. He fakes the double. Wesson doesn't kill his dribble. Conchar has to recover, and Andre Wesson able to play through there.
Musa Jallo, a sophomore, is on the floor right now for the first time for Ohio State. TJ Jackson, the leading returning scorer for the Buckeyes, on the drive, and the pass he's looking for Ledee. It's tipped out of bounds and stays with Ohio State.
This is going to be the edge of the floor where, especially in the early going, Chris, that Ohio State is trying to find their rhythm. It's on the offensive end of the floor, trying to incorporate so many young players, and a good job of executing it and kind of muddying up the waters with a little bit of a rough screen allows Musa Jallo to score.
Easy bucket for the sophomore, his first field goal of the day. Holba, the sharpshooter, drives inside on Jallo, an excellent defender, and he got congested near the rim. Luther Muhammad, too strong. Rebound goes to Benford, and Purdue Fort Wayne looks to run. Here's John Conchar. The 3-time All-Summit League player is fouled and goes to the line.
And that's where Conchar is so smart. But speaking of heads-up plays, how about the last time in the half-court inbounds play for Ohio State? You get everybody moving, you get just enough of a screen, and a wonderful job by Muhammad. That's not possible. Muhammad, number 1, sets the screen. You have to come off shoulder to shoulder. Musa Jallo, the beneficiary there.
Conchar is just 3 for 7 at the foul line this season. To make that 3 for 8, Purdue Fort Wayne has shot under 60% through his first 2 games at the free throw line, a number that they would have to have higher if they want a chance in this game.
Yeah, and if there's one blemish on Conchar's game, it would be the foul stripe. A year ago, an All-Summit League player, but he kind of struggled with this part of his ball game, only 65% from the foul line a year ago.
That was an air ball. It's shocking to see such a well-rounded player have a noticeable flaw like that in his game.
This is a guy that's a 38% shooter from deep, 48% field goal shooter overall a year ago. But I can tell you what, he'll forget it, and the next time down the floor, he's going to attack the rim. This guy just does not come off the floor because of what he means to this Purdue Fort Wayne team.
Ledee, guarded by Josh Nkumsa. Keyshawn Woods. The pull-up. And the rebound saved by Purdue Fort Wayne.
But Ledee, a nice job of trying to keep the play alive for Ohio State.
There were some concerns for Ohio State, as good as their defense looked against Cincinnati, taking on a much more explosive offense in Purdue Fort Wayne, and John Conchar buries the triple.
And you could tell that was a clean look by Conchar, because Muhammad, who had been hounding Conchar the whole time, they got caught up on a switch. The Mastodons able to take advantage, and Jallo not out there in time, and Conchar made him pay.
So we're tied again in Columbus. Five to shoot for Luther Muhammad. In the lane, he got around Conchar and beats him for the layup.
And a good job by Luther Muhammad, Chris, of keeping the dribble alive. A lot of times you'll see guys that are dribbling without a purpose. Here he dribbled with a purpose toward the basket and kept it alive.
Jared Godfrey cut off on the end line by Woods. Nkumsa, airmail, and out of bounds along the end line. We'll take a timeout. As expected, Purdue Fort Wayne is playing Ohio State tough in Columbus.
When I was shopping
in the non-conference every year, you mentioned it earlier, Chris, they opened up on the road at Pauley Pavilion. They have this game. They will challenge themselves, and they're in a very competitive league in their own right. You know, the Summit League, very, very talented league. led by preseason favorite South Dakota State. Mike Daum, another player that you haven't had a chance to see him play along with Conchar. You're missing something. Very talented player in that level.
Purdue Fort Wayne is now 4 of 6 from beyond the long line today. And Ohio State knows something about South Dakota State, too. Recently, in fact, they played South Dakota State in the NCAA tournament last year. And C.J. Jackson now has 5 points in the first half. Weir is cut off. He finds Holba, who traveled.
And a really good job by Musa Jallow there. That led to the turnover. He came out under control, Chris, and had his hand up, and that forced the shuffling of the feet. Jallow got caught up a few possessions ago on Conchar. But watch it come out here. Hands high, maintained his stance, and did not come out of his stance. That forced the turnover.
Jallow attended Bloomington North High School in Indiana. He graduated early, and so was able to play as a true freshman last year for Ohio State when he really should have been a senior in high school.
Very instrumental in their big win during the conference slate on the road at West Lafayette versus the Boilermakers. Had double-digit points that night.
Wayne Washington, entry feed to Caleb Wesson. He nearly beat 2 Purdue Fort Wayne defenders to the cup, but he couldn't finish. Here's to Barry. To Conchar, who seems to save his best performances against the Power 5, and that's an easy dump-off down low to the sophomore Benford from Seattle.
And just a breakdown in communication because you had Woods, the third different defender, to draw the Conchar assignment. They get him in a high ball screen, and they just don't communicate, and C.J. Jackson communicates with the bottom of the well with the answer.
Jackson is the leading scorer in the game so far. He averaged over 12.5 points as a junior last season. And stays with Ohio State. Here's that mix-up again.
Last time down the floor. Now, in this high ball screen, you have to communicate. Meaning, hey, help and recover. Wesson had the help part down, but just not able to recover quickly enough. He needs to help, show, hedge, and then get back because Conchar averages about 5 assists per ball game.
Halfway through the first half, Conchar short. Rebound in the lane goes to Washington. Jallow, not much of an offensive threat, but the kick into the corner finds Washington. Jallow, offensive rebound.
Nice job by Jallow keeping the possession alive. The Macedons have done a good job up to that point of finding a white jersey, putting a body on him, and Jallow shows you what happens when you don't.
Rebound to Purdue Fort Wayne. Godfrey got stripped. Benford saves it in the lane. Back out to Godfrey, who lines it up. Missed it long. Jackson snaps down the rebound.
That's okay. If you're Purdue Fort Wayne, you can live with that shot because they had Ohio State in a scramble situation defensively. Taking threes is a big part of what the Macedons do. It was an open shot, just not able to convert.
Too long for Wesson, and Conchar is there opportunistically. Lob up to Jared Godfrey. Benford got tangled up. Excellent defense by Caleb Wesson, and he takes it away.
Benford wasn't sure whether to shoot it or pass it.
Woods on the baseline drive and the soft finish. Now,
well, they've been able, for long periods of time, they've been able to rotate some fresh defenders on John Conchar. And much like their win at Cincinnati, so far, what has been the highlight of Ohio State has been on the defensive end of the floor. They've made everything just very, very difficult. Very few easy opportunities for the visitors.
Muhammad the rebound. What have you thought of Muhammad's defense against Conchar?
He's been really, really good and solid. The times that Conchar has been able to score, it has been when Muhammad has not been the primary defender. The thing he's going to have to be wary of is not making sure that he doesn't overplay too much and allow Conchar to set him up for a backdoor because of how well Purdue Fort Wayne spreads the floor.
Muhammad's an energetic guy. He could be susceptible to that in his first home game at the college level. Ohio State, by the way, is 117 all-time in their first home game of the season. They lead Purdue Fort Wayne by 7.
We can't do it. I'm telling you, it can't be done.
We are doing it. It's a done deal for $40.
Freshman season here in Columbus, but you also had guys that have been around the block. Cam Williams, you had Keita Bates-Diop, you had Jayshawn Tate, who could kind of allow him to find his role. He did that admirably. Only one game did he attempt more than double-digit field goals. I expect that to change throughout the course of this year, but he showed his versatility so far in this ball game. Not just a capable, but a willing passer. 2 assists thus far for the sophomore.
That's another miss from long range for Purdue Fort Wayne. They are now 0 for their last 5 from deep after starting 4 of 5. That again is one of the keys for Purdue Fort Wayne to stay afloat in this game. Jackson splits the defense and drives in for a layup.
Nice job by Jackson of understanding that without Caleb Wesson in there, the Mastodons were going to be a little bit more assertive defensively and extend out. You didn't have the shot blocking presence back there.
Here again, just a look at the declining numbers for Purdue Fort Wayne from deep. C.J. Jackson already has 10 points for Ohio State. Wesson double-teamed it, he threw it away.
Good, strong double, and they waited. They waited till Wesson caught it, and then they ran down the double very, very aggressively. That led to the miscue.
Conchar got his own miss. A whistle.
I think they got an offensive foul.
They did.
Dropping the shoulder. Really good job by C.J. Jackson of moving his feet and getting his body squared up. He took away the dominant hand there on the dribble and was able to get there well outside, certainly, the restricted area. But watch him move his feet and takes it right in the chest, sells it, will go the other way. Nice job by the senior C.J. Jackson.
4 turnovers for Purdue Fort Wayne in the game. Sloppy pass. Here comes Casey Harrell. Count the bucket in the foul.
Really nice job by Casey Harrell of understanding, look, we've got to get as many things going to the rim as possible. I can't wait for somebody to come with me. Live ball turnover. You mentioned it, kind of sloppy with the dribble handoff. And then, right now, if you're Ohio State, there's no way you're going to block that shot. So just let Harrell go in and complete it. But now for the Mastodons, they have a chance to complete a 3-point play and cut this to 4.
This is only Harrell's second free throw attempt of the season.
Shot 37% from behind the arc a year ago, but 2 seasons ago, he was among the top 10 leaders nationally in terms of 3-point field goal percentage, where he converted right around 44% from deep.
In Casey Harrell's game, as we learned in talking to Purdue Fort Wayne's coaching staff, has evolved beyond just that of a shooter.
And the Mastodons extending the defense here a little bit, giving a little bit of a different look, especially with Caleb Wesson coming back in the ball game. Extend the defense, now go zone. Oh, didn't need the dribble. Very fortunate there.
Got the bucket either way.
Yeah, Kai Young was really fortunate that he put the ball on the ground with that much traffic, but fortunately for the Buckeyes, able to complete.
What do you think the Buckeyes are doing defensively to neutralize John Conchar?
They are rotating different players, and they're making sure that they are there on the catch. They've rotated 3 different guys. Jallows John, that assignment. We've seen Keyshawn Woods do it. Luther Muhammad has been the primary defender when he's been in the ball game, but they're going to try to use a war of attrition with him and just try to wear him down and not have any easy opportunities for the All-Summit League player. And Muhammad is doing a wonderful job moving his feet.
Olva lost the dribble at the free throw line. Here's Conchar, difficult shot. He bricked it, but it's saved by Godfrey and Purdue Fort Wayne. That was a near impossible shot. It almost went down for Conchar, and this is the 3rd opportunity for Purdue Fort Wayne, and D. Montgomery makes it rain, the junior from Horn Lake, Mississippi. That was a huge stand for Purdue Fort Wayne to make this a 3-point game.
And a couple of back taps by the Mastodons kept it alive and allowed Montgomery the opportunity to knock it down. And then you see some frustration there by C.J. Jackson. They get him with the inside arm and the clear out.
And Caleb Wesson just picked up his second foul for Ohio State. The Buckeyes are incredulous.
Well, the Mastodons, kind of hot. Oh, they might have gotten Wesson there.
They did.
Yeah, and that's exactly the right call. I thought they might have gotten C.J. Jackson, but it certainly was Caleb Wesson with that screen extending those arms.
There's a takeaway by Kyle Young. Momentarily puts it into an 8-2 run for Purdue Fort Wayne. Moments after Ohio State opened up an 11-2 run. So a battle of back and forth in the first half. Now Ohio State gets into the bonus. D. Montgomery with the foul is first.
C.J. Jackson, a 79% foul shooter a season ago. And Chris, he struggled a little bit offensively throughout periods of time in that opening win at Cincinnati, but he hit a couple of big shots. A three comes to mind from that corner when the Bearcats were starting to fight their way back, and then he hit a very difficult runner going to his right to kind of help seal the fate on the road.
He could not complete the three-point play. There's Matt Weir. Jackson guards it. That was a 1-and-1, beg your pardon. Godfrey off the front of the rim. He was 9 for 10 in Purdue Fort Wayne's last game against Earlham, and there's a double dribble.
That's when, and that is certainly, the turnover is going to be credited to C.J. Jackson, but Luther Muhammad showed a little bit of inexperience. He needed to fan out. He ran in a straight line. That took his defender with him. I think C.J. Jackson wanted to get him the ball, but because Luther Muhammad didn't fan out and force one to defend two, it made it a much more difficult play for C.J. Jackson.
Muhammad got his hand in the passing lane, and he saves it inbounds on the break. Darius Washington.
Well, Luther Muhammad started that, and then how about the delivery from C.J. Jackson, the excellent bounce pass.
Purdue Fort Wayne with the answer, courtesy of Matt Holba.
Holba, the Lehigh transfer, very capable three-point shooter, a 38% shooter from deep his last season with the Engineers.
Dwayne Washington, who just had the dunk, nearly threw it away. Muhammad had the sky to save it. Tough move, and the rattle down.
And I like this kid, Luther Muhammad. He plays hard on both ends of the floor and has taken a great deal of pride defensively so far trying to shut down Conchar.
Couldn't shut him down there on the tip-in.
But the dribble drive is what made that possible. You saw all the white jerseys have to rotate over, and even though they weren't able to convert, that puts you in a scramble situation defensively, allowing Conchar to come in and clean up the mess.
Awfully fun first half between Ohio State and Purdue Fort Wayne in the first meeting between these two schools. Jackson is stripped and draws the foul. 2-point lead for Ohio State. C.J. Jackson tries to extend it at the line when we come back.
Larry, you're coming in through the
Renovated Fifth Third Arena in Cincinnati, but here today where he has done an outstanding job of containing John Conchar. When Conchar has scored, it's been when Luther Muhammad has not been the primary defender.
We've got the State Farm halftime report coming your way next. Purdue Fort Wayne certainly trying to close out this first half strong.
C.J. Jackson, a big reason. And as we head toward the half, Chris, just want to wish a happy Veterans Day to all the folks out there that have served our country, especially my father who served in the Coast Guard. So thank you for all you've done for us.
That's a great message, Sean. And one of our officials today, as a matter of fact, Donnie Epley, a 20-year Army veteran. Very patriotic feel inside Value City Arena today. You think your dad's watching?
I think so. If there's a ball bouncing somewhere, chances are Dad's watching. And we talked to Donnie Epley, and 20 years serving in the Army. So as difficult as job as it can be to be an official, this is a cakewalk compared to what he did.
Out of bounds after a shot by John Conchar that just barely grazed the net. I think if you look at his numbers in the first half, Sean, John Conchar's that is, and in particular his field goal percentage, you certainly take it if you're Ohio State defensively.
The other thing that he's done, even though he hadn't shot the ball well, how about the fact he's got 7 rebounds, 3 assists. He's not going to come off the floor. He's just not.
Reversed by Harrell. Just couldn't quite finish. He was looking for a foul. Here's Dwayne Washington.
I tell you what, Ohio State might have gotten lucky there because it looked like someone might have touched the net while that ball was up on the backboard.
Jared Godfrey, who had a game-high 23 points in Purdue Fort Wayne's last win over Division III Early. Suffocating defense again by Mohammed on Conchar.
Nice pass.
Benford got fouled.
Well, on the dribble drive on the previous possession for the Mastodons, ball's up there. Now that ball's up there on the backboard. Ohio State very fortunate there wasn't basket interference. A lot of times people think about basket interference, above the rim with a goaltend. Look, you have to leave the net alone, so the Mastodons, didn't get a break there here in Columbus.
First free throw is good for Cameron Benford, a sophomore who saw 25 games of playing time as a freshman last year for John Kaufman. Make it a 2-point game now. Rebound to Andre Wesson. You're not surprised at all that this is such a close game.
No, this is a team in Purdue Fort Wayne that they're no stranger to going on the road and playing in big arenas. They did it earlier as Dwayne Washington knocked down a big shoe for Ohio State, but they do this regularly. And they have a couple of experienced players, most notably Conchar, who's been down this road before.
Ohio State has looked very good defensively in its first 2 games, team-wide against Cincinnati, and then in particular Luther Muhammad today with how he's been able to prevent John Conchar from finding rhythm.
What they did at Cincinnati, yes, Cincinnati struggled shooting the ball, but a big reason for that, Chris, was the defensive intensity put forth by the Buckeyes. I mean, you hold a team in their own gym to 27% shooting and against a team that really emphasizes offensive rebounding as Washington knocks down the second three. You win the second chance things, you win in all the hustle plays, and the Buckeyes did just that.
Olba trying to quiet the crowd. And the rebound down to C.J. Jackson, a 6-0 run for Ohio State. Andre Wesson glides in, but he couldn't finish the jam.
He hit the floor hard.
And he's still down. It's a 5-on-4 for Purdue Fort Wayne. Here's Harrell with the spin and the flip. No finish. Heck of an effort by Benford to save it, but it belongs to Ohio State.
And Chris, people at home may be saying, hey, why didn't they stop play? And they say, hey, the officials missed something. They absolutely did not. When it's a live ball play like that and the opposition corrals the ball rather, as the Mastodons do, as you see Wesson coming in here, just kind of lost his balance and landed hard. Now, people at home may be saying, why didn't you stop play when he went to the ground? And that's a good no call. There was no contact there. Wesson just kind of lost the ball. You can't allow, in this case, the Mastodons not to have the opportunity to take advantage of the man situation there. The officials did absolutely the right thing by letting play go on. Now, if there had been on the turnover there, they did stop play because you don't want someone to come down on the other end when you do have an injured player down. But the officials were absolutely correct there.
And you see as Andre Wesson heads off to the locker room, not even stopping at his team's bench.
Yeah,
he's holding his lower back.
Yeah, he landed, kind of awkwardly there. They'll get some ice on that, I'm sure. And the thing is that once he does get tended to, you want to make sure that he keeps moving because a lower back injury in particular can kind of tighten up you very quickly.
Just about 10 seconds until the State Farm halftime report. Ohio State looking for the final say in what's been a fun first half. Muhammad nearly lost it out of bounds. Now it's intercepted by Conchar. 2 seconds left, and the layup rattles home before the first half clock expires. So it's Purdue Fort Wayne with the last word in the first. Ohio State looks like it could be pretty deep at the guard position going forward this year.
Yeah, and they can throw a lot of different bodies in there, and it's been the defensive end of the floor that's a little bit ahead of where they will eventually be offensively. The effort has been there. The execution, they'll start to pick that up on the offensive end.
Keyshawn Woods starts the second half for Ohio State. Remember, Andre Wesson, who is in the starting lineup when the game began, was injured as he fell from the rim on a dunk attempt. He's still in the locker room and is questionable to return. He landed on his back.
Yeah, lower back. And again, Wallenberg, the outstanding sports information contact here at Ohio State, told us that, he's kind of questionable, being evaluated right now.
Caleb Wesson, his younger brother by a year, picks up the rebound. Here comes C.J. Jackson. He had 12 first-half points.
Let's see if they try to get a touch to Caleb Wesson here to start the second half. Good job by Carl of beating him to a spot.
And he's double-teamed. Caleb Wesson with 2 points and 2 fouls in the first half. Elbow jumper for Woods as he was left alone. And the rebound goes to Conchar. He had 7 of those in the first half. Surprise, surprise. Olma on the drive. And a difficult bank shot falls. Don't expect Purdue-Fort Wayne to go anywhere. They withstood a couple of runs by Ohio State, including one late in the first half. And even without their three-point shooting game being what it was in Purdue-Fort Wayne's upset wins over Indiana each of the last 2 seasons, they've still played a very close first half over Ohio State. Now Wesson draws the foul.
Yeah, and Wesson just took Dylan Carl, all the way underneath the basket.
Number 11,
Caleb Wesson was able to catch that at point-blank range, and this is not a team in Purdue-Fort Wayne that's exceedingly deep along the front line. Look where Dylan Carl ends up. Caleb Wesson takes him all the way underneath the rim, and Dylan Carl had nothing to do but give the foul.
He was out of the frame.
Yes.
That was the third foul, by the way, on Dylan Carl, so that depth that Sean just mentioned is being challenged here by Ohio State already early in the second half. Carl takes his seat. He's listed perhaps generously at 225 pounds. Caleb Wesson at the free throw line, 270.
And Dylan Carl, not known necessarily as a post presence, but I tell you what, he gives this team such a different dimension because of his ability to knock down threes. 2 of 2 from behind the arc, especially early going by Dylan Carl. That's something that they will miss with him on the bench with his foul trouble.
What do you think John Kaufman's barking about right now? Who knows?
I think they're trying to get the timing right. And the reason that we're shooting this extra free throw is that there was a line violation by the Mastodons.
That's a break for Ohio State as Caleb Wesson missed the second free throw attempt. And now 4 points for the sophomore and Ohio high school state champion at Westerville South. Conchar was 4 of 10 shooting in the first half. And Luther Muhammad gets him to travel.
Hey, I tell you what, Luther Muhammad is doing yeoman's work defensively. Watch him move his feet. And he hedges, hands are up, shows his hands, moves his feet. That is just a tremendous defensive sequence by the freshman Luther Muhammad on a wonderful player, John Conchar, who has him in terms of experience by 4 years.
We saw Caleb Wesson hit that shot in the second half against Cincinnati. That one's off the mark. Muhammad on the second chance. Rebound corralled by Kaysen Harrell. Another hard fall taken by an Ohio State Buckeye. That time it was Kyle Young.
Oh, he had the basket.
Purdue had a numbers advantage. They gave it up and then traveled.
Yeah, that's just a little bit of inexperience right there by Purdue-Fort Wayne. I mean, they get the ball ahead. You've got the numbers game with Kyle Young struggling. They're able to get the ball right at the rim. I don't think he knew exactly where he was, Chris, and he kicked it out. Didn't need to do that.
So 2 straight turnovers for Purdue-Fort Wayne, and Ohio State looks to pad its lead early in the second half. C.J. Jackson picks up right where he left off in the first half with his second triple of the game. A little bit of press action now for Ohio State. It's fun. Luther Muhammad, as a freshman, again, is not afraid to play some mind games with a fifth-year senior, John Conchar. Wesson the rebound.
Very quietly, the Buckeyes have been able to extend this to double digits, their biggest lead so far of the afternoon. Man, Muhammad, so many times guys get caught up playing defense with their hands and they don't move their feet, but this freshman has done a wonderful job of being there on the catch, maintaining his stance, and then moving his feet with a guy in Conchar at 6'5" that can really handle the basketball.
C.J. Jackson heating up. 18 points for the senior from Charlotte. And it's an 8-0 run for Ohio State. Purdue Fort Wayne needs a bucket, and Conchar on the over-pursuit provides it.
Yep. Muhammad went for the steal. He didn't maintain discipline. One of the few times he's broken down there, and then they cleared out that side of the floor. There was no one over there in a post position. They cleared out that side of the floor. That allowed Conchar to turn the corner.
Muhammad kicks. Jackson, this would be his third made three-pointer in a row.
That's when you're feeling it, Chris, because he had to kind of corral that. That pass was a little bit away from his body, and Jackson had to reach out in order to get it into his shooting pocket. That's when you can tell you're really feeling it. Good job by Woods there, being there on the catch.
Whistle on the baseline drive by Kaysen Harrell. Here's our State Farm assist of the game on the made three by C.J. Jackson.
And Luther Muhammad with the baseline drive. Now look where C.J. Jackson had to reach out with his right hand and corral it. That was a nice recognition, and because of the defensive pressure being put on by the Mastodons, he didn't have a clear path at it in terms of finding C.J. Jackson. He knew where he was, and Jackson was able to reach out with one hand, corral it, getting into his shooting pocket for our State Farm assist of the game.
Jared Godfrey to Harrell. Back to Godfrey.
Ohio State is just so solid defensively. Nice job of moving the feet, communicating.
Desperation heave by Godfrey, and he gets the away court bounce. His first bucket of the day.
And Godfrey, as a freshman, his first game on the road at Pauley Pavilion, he struggled shooting the ball. 0 of 9 from the floor, 0 of 6 from deep, but he did not let that linger in this game here today.
Jackson is 2 points away from tying his career high with Ohio State. He's got 21. Closing in on 23, his career high. He's in the corner, and he's got it now. With 5 to shoot.
Nice pass.
To Ledee in the lane. He goes back to the line where he's 0 for 1 today. Ohio State looks pretty good, coming out hot in the second half.
When Conchar turns the corner and give the contact with the hands, Muhammad showed his hands and really done a wonderful job of moving his feet here this afternoon.
And it's good that we profile Luther like that. You saw his line today, 5 points, 1 steal. That doesn't jump off the stat sheet at you by any means, but he's playing a fine defensive game against one of the premier players in the Summit League, John Conchar. Jaden Ledee is now 2 for 3 from the foul line today, the freshman out of the Kincaid School in Houston.
I was impressed with what Ledee gave the Buckeyes in the first half. A number of hustle plays, kept a couple of plays alive with back taps and offensive rebounding. And then I think back to the play where he was on the defensive end of the floor underneath the basket and sprinted back past about 5 or 6 players of both jerseys and was able to get to the rim.
Again, this is his first game in Buckeyes uniform. He did not play last week against Cincinnati. That's going the other way. Matt Weir, the ball handler, picked up the offensive foul.
He wanted to come back to that left hand, and the Buckeyes took it away, and he cleared off with that inside arm.
Notice that Andre Wesson is back in the game after departing before halftime with an injury. Good to see him back on the floor. He's got it now. Passes back to Muhammad. Probes on Conchar. Kicks to Keyshawn Woods. Line drive shot. Up for grabs on the rebound. Nearly saved by Wesson. hook pass goes to Cameron Benford for Purdue Fort Wayne. Here comes Conchar on the dribble. Bodies flying all over the place.
Nice job of defensive transition by the Buckeyes.
What a difficult move by Jarrett Godfrey that draws the foul. Well, this is why we're so happy to see Andre Wesson back on the floor. Sean, you said that when you fall from quite a height like this, your back's going to tighten up on you.
Well, I was never up that high, so I'm just doing that on word of mouth. But I can tell you about back pain, and he's going to be a little bit sore tomorrow. And he just lost it on the way up. But the thing that they will be cognizant of, and they'll make sure that it gets iced. And then if you're able to come out and play, as certainly Weston has been able to do here, Andre here in the second half, you want to keep it going because the biggest thing over the next couple of days is that it'll tend to tighten up.
6 points and 4 rebounds in the season opener for Wesson, who is feeling really good about how his offensive game improved over the offseason for Ohio State. And again, Chris Holtman told us that they could really use a couple of other guys who can score the basketball in the absence of a lot of offensive production from the team a season ago. Tried to find his brother on the lob, and John Conchar had the springs to take it away. He nearly went coast to coast. No foul. Here comes Keyshawn Woods and the Buckeyes. A 2-on-2. Mohammed hits it. I tell you what, Sean, for a good defensive player, those three-point shots are just bonuses, and he looks good doing it.
Yeah, and he knocked down a couple of big threes against Cincinnati as well. Maybe not the most aesthetically pleasing jump shot, kind of got a little bit of a side rotation, but hey, this isn't a video game and it's certainly not ice skating. You don't have to worry about style points.
He takes a seat.
Man, I've been so impressed, Chris, with the job that he's done here defensively, because he is facing a very difficult challenge in John Conchar, and the job that freshman has done of moving his feet and being in an outstanding position defensively has been impressive, to say the least.
And looking at his demeanor, it looks like he's really reveling that challenge, too. Godfrey off the mark on the reverse. And it goes to Ohio State. This is one thing I asked you about, Sean, before the game today. Ohio State, as young as they are, looks so good defensively. And in most cases, you would think that a young team would have more to learn defensively at the start of a season like this. But you said that under Chris Holtman, these guys are going to learn defense first.
And I think another thing that has really helped them is they were able to go to Spain. You're able to do a foreign trip once every 4 years, and you get 10 practices to go with that, Chris. And so what you have the opportunity to do, and understanding how much offensive firepower was moving on, you know, hey, especially in the early going, we are going to have to focus and hang our hat on the defensive end of the floor. With all these young guys, you were able to incorporate that into the summer. You didn't have to wait until the start of official practice to kind of set that tone. They were able to do that, and it has certainly paid dividends early on.
Jackson triggers, finds Caleb Weston. That was clear even from our vantage point. Now Musa Jallo is on Conchar with Muhammad on the bench.
Nice
Conchar
job.
turns it over and then gets it right back. He tries to save it, but he stepped out of bounds.
A hustle by both teams. The big fella, Caleb Weston, showing the willingness, able to get his active hands in there, goes to the deck, and Conchar returns the favor, not giving up on the play for the Mastodons. But good active hands by Caleb Weston. That's a long way to the deck, and then he has the presence in mind to kick it to Jallo.
Luther Muhammad right back on the floor. He missed the runner. Nearly got it back. Purdue Fort Wayne comes up with it. DeBerry, 15-footer. At about 14 feet there. Bullet pass to Jallo. He launches from 3. And John Kaufman wants a timeout.
The perennial NCAA tournament team out of the Atlantic Sun.
Back to the action. John Conchar on the dribble for Purdue Fort Wayne. Dylan Carl back in the game with 3 fouls. Luther Muhammad, get used to this. The steal and the layup. 10 points for the freshman out of Hudson Catholic in Jersey City. Another whistle, and this is our BTN standout.
Wonderful job by the freshman Luther Muhammad. We've talked about his defensive prowess throughout the course of the afternoon. Now watch what he does here. He comes with the inside hand, Chris. A lot of times guys will want to go with the dominant hand for the steal. If he comes after that steal with the inside hand, chances are that pass might have a way to snake through, but he came with the inside hand, the deflection and the completion.
And our BTN standout is presented by Auto Owners Insurance. Andre Wesson has 4 fouls. Luther Muhammad, in the blink of an eye, it's felt like, has doubled his point total today. Remember, a top 100 recruit nationally and blossoming really before our eyes just 2 games into his college career. There are going to be bumps in the road, right?
Oh, yeah, there's going to be bumps. I tell you, the one thing that you never have to worry about, so what we've seen so far, is not just his ability on the defensive end, but the pride with which he plays on that end of the floor. And a lot of times, that's not coming in as a freshman. This is a guy that understands, look, I can impact this game in more ways than just putting it in the basket. I can do that, but I can impact my game not just defensively, but unselfishly with feeds like that.
That was a pretty good pass to the big fella, Caleb Wesson. 23-point edge for Ohio State, not even halfway through the second half. DeBerry. It just feels like every shot is contested for Purdue Fort Wayne. But that was a contested pass.
Well, Caleb Wesson got a couple of fouls where he was out of the ball game, and when he was, this is what they missed. Watch him take the defender out of the picture. The national championship game. Michigan lost a lot offensively. How will they go against a team in Villanova that's facing the same challenge? And then Seton Hall, Nebraska. This is an opportunity for Nebraska. Last year, their non-conference slate might have been one of the reasons, it was one of the reasons that they were not able to get into the NCAA tournament, even though they won 13 conference games. A game like Seton Hall at home gives them an opportunity to continue to build their resume defensively. The Cornhuskers will have their hands full. Remember this name, a guy named Miles Powell for the Seton Hall Pirates. This is a guy that was the most improved player in the Big East a year ago, averaged 16 points per ball game. They will have their hands full trying to contain him on the road.
Well, Creighton is going to have its hands full trying to contain Luther Muhammad in the Gavitt games. That's Ohio State's next opponent. Muhammad has now reached double figures in his first 2 collegiate games. He's 3 for 4 at the line.
And this is a guy, I tell you what, for fans that sometimes they get all caught up in scoring and the style points. Yes, this young man can score, and he will continue to develop offensively. But just enjoy what he does in terms of the pride with which he plays on the defensive end of the floor.
It's an exuberance.
Yeah.
Godfrey in the corner. Dwayne Washington Jr. with the rebound. Remember, it was a 5-point game early in the second half, and Ohio State has since gone on a 25-5 run. What a rebound by Jallo, but then he turned it over on an errant pass. Harrell back to Godfrey. Holba. Long. Rebound by Conchar among 4 white jerseys, and he gets the bucket.
Hey, if you're a basketball fan, how can you not love the way that young guy plays the game? I mean, he just continues to attack and attack and attack. He's drawn some unbelievable defensive pressure from guys like Luther Muhammad, but he just keeps playing.
He's got 13 points today and is now tied with Bruce Rowland for 4th all-time in program history. Nearly got a steal there and instead picks up a foul, his 3rd.
But an all-Summit League player for 2 consecutive years, well on his way to being a 3-time all-Summit League player. And I tell you another reason that this guy deserves our respect. Of course, in the world in which we live now in college basketball, this is a guy that could have done the graduate transfer route. You know, he already has his undergraduate degree from Purdue Fort Wayne. He could have gone somewhere else, but decided to honor his commitment to this program, and, you know, that's worthy of mention as well.
Caleb Wesson picks up the foul, his third, and Chris Holtmann, Ohio State's head coach, told us on his own that he thinks John Conchar could be an NBA player.
Well, I mean, look, he's handling the ball. He's 6'5". There may be a place for him at the NBA level. A capable enough shooter, can guard multiple positions. Someone will certainly give him a good, hard look.
Carl is 2 for 2 from long range today. That was an air ball. He's now 2 for 3.
He didn't catch that cleanly. That came off. You compare that to the two he made. They came off the fingertips. That one kind of came off awkwardly off the palm of his hand. And when that happens, Chris, you don't have nearly the opportunity to guide the basketball. He kind of tried to shoot it before he caught it cleanly.
Purdue Fort Wayne is 2 for its last 15 from long range. They started off hot, but Ohio State's perimeter defense is really locked down. Mohammed around Conchar. He got stripped, and Ohio State hangs on. D. Montgomery checks back into the game for Purdue Fort Wayne.
Watch the back screen. They were able to free up Caleb Wesson on this play to try it again. Good recognition defensively by the Mastodons.
Under 10 to shoot. DJ Jackson, remember, closing in on his career high, picks up the foul. He goes on Kason Harrell.
And Kason Harrell, the reason he drew that foul, Chris, he did a pretty good job of moving his feet, but he didn't show his hands. His hands were down there. He was about a half a step behind. He tried to catch up with the hands, and the officials caught him.
One and one here for C.J. Jackson. He's 3 for 4 at the line today. Gets another. Later tonight, when the action ends, the Big Show takes over. Highlights from around the conference, post-game reaction straight from the arena, and in-depth expert analysis. The Big Show tonight at 8 Eastern right here on BTN. Jackson goes 2 for 2 on that trip. 23 points for the senior. That ties his career high. Montgomery with the stutter. Loses the handle but gets it back. Dylan Carl. Back to Montgomery. Caleb Wesson with the box out and the rebound. Splash. Keyshawn Woods.
The transfer from Wake Forest, providing a little bit of offensive spark, averaged about 12 points per ball game, and more importantly for the Buckeyes, shot 37% from behind the arc last season.
There was plenty of time on the shot clock there for Kason Harrell. A rushed shot gives Ohio State the ball back. Woods, beat check. Weston with the offensive rebound, and the putback, he just bullied Matt Holba. This is what Ohio State's young and burgeoning offense will tell you what, taking on a very good Summit League team in Purdue Fort Wayne. Wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility to see Ohio State in the top 25 at some point.
Well, they have tested themselves in the early non-conference. Well, they go on the road and they win at Cincinnati. No small feat there, especially when they're opening a new building. And then this Purdue Fort Wayne team is a very good squad. They've been able to jump on them, have the Buckeyes here in the second half defensively. And now the Buckeyes, after this game, going into another hostile environment to follow up the one they faced in Cincinnati, going and playing at Creighton.
It's quite a start to the season for Chris Holtmann's crew. Dwayne Washington, does he have a pretty shot or what?
That's his third made three today, and you need to be there on the catch and at least force him to do something off the dribble, because if he gets his feet set, it's going in.
Matt Holba has not found his touch from long range tonight, but Dwayne Washington sure has.
Dwayne Washington now 3 of 4 from behind the arc. Nice job of utilizing going inside and kicking it out. And a good job by Washington of getting that out of the shooting pocket very, very quickly. No need to wind up, and he did his work while the pass was on its way, meaning he got down into a basketball stance and didn't have to bend his knees. They were already bent on the pass.
Again, no Jayshawn Tate, no Keita Bates-Diop. Who is the offense going to run through for Ohio State this season? Well, tonight anyway, 6 players for the Buckeyes have hit at least 3 field goals.
And, you know, Caleb Wesson is somebody who's very efficient around the rim. You know, shoots about 56% from the floor a season ago. But the other thing that they can play through him when he's not battling foul trouble is his willingness and his ability to pass. He's got outstanding court vision, understands where double teams are coming from, and what the officials are is the targeting call in football. You know, it's all about trying to increase the safety of the people that are out there playing the ball game. And you know, football is a collision sport, basketball is a contact sport, and what they're trying to do.
We're going to get a quick explanation here from Donnie Epley, one of our officials, and now Sean will relay it back to you.
Yep. What they did is that they gave him that hook, which is when it's a play like that, it gets upgraded to a flagrant 1. And what a flagrant 1 does, it's not deemable to be ejected from the ball game, but it's 2 shots in the ball for the team that had the offense called against, or had the offense perpetrated against them.
So again, that's one of the rule changes in college basketball this year, and we've seen it on display here in the second half.
And again, it's all about player welfare and player safety, because look, you have to continue and keep up with the game, because everyone's always going to be looking for an advantage. And what you saw a lot of offensive guys doing, and defensive players as well, was trying to gain an advantage by hooking an arm and limiting the player that they were hooking, either from cutting to the basket, or in that case, if you're Purdue Fort Wayne, of getting to the rim and having a chance to rebound the ball.
I think it's a testament to how good college basketball referees are in targeting. In football, that's much more night and day. This is a really hard call to the naked eye to make.
Yeah, and it's look, these guys don't have an easy job to begin with.
Pretty move by C.J. Jackson. Purdue Fort Wayne has been ice cold from the floor in the second half. Harrell draws the foul and goes to the line. By the way, that's a new career high officially now for C.J. Jackson. He had tied it with his last free throw, and then that field goal gives him 25 for the transfer, believe it or not, from Eastern Florida State Community College. He's having quite a career in the Big Ten.
Played 1 year at the junior college level. This is his 3rd season in Columbus. You know, his first year here, kind of split time and backed up Jaquan Lyle. When Lyle moved on, he moved into the starting lineup and just was so integral to their season a year ago, because he was a capable scorer, but also understood, hey, my job is to set up guys like Keita Bates-Diop and Cam Williams. And he did that. Now he understands this is a different role that he has to fulfill with so many young players that they're trying to incorporate on the offensive end of the floor. He has to be a little bit more assertive offensively, and he's certainly done that here this afternoon.
Great dish to Jaden Ledee, who couldn't quite finish the flush, but he goes to the line and knows exactly who to point to. C.J. Jackson with that dime.
And C.J. Jackson, this is why you play with your head up, right? Look where his eyes are. His eyes are up the entire time, looking downfield, much like a quarterback in football. Looks off the defender, boom, then puts it up there. And this is a play that another year in the weight room, this will be a chance for an and one.
Looks like he's already been in the weight room, quite frankly. All of his points tonight have come at the foul line. And this was a guy, Jaden Ledee, did not see the floor against Cincinnati in the opener. And, of course, you overreact to the first game of the season. Maybe you start to wonder, well, as a true freshman, is it going to take him a while to acclimate to the game? But he's looked really good today.
And the short answer is, yeah, it's especially for, you know, bigger guys, it takes a little bit longer, because now you're playing against players your size or bigger, but most importantly, are also a little bit more experienced. But a nice job of utilizing his length there on the defensive end of the floor.
You can catch up to faster players with length like that. Another brick for Purdue Fort Wayne, and they look a little fatigued.
Yeah.
Just about every shot has been contested by Ohio State's defense in the second half. Every player who's seen court time for Ohio State today has scored and grabbed a rebound. That number is 9, by the way. Foul goes against Matt Holba, the redshirt junior from Noblesville, Indiana, his third.
Yeah, they got him with a hold. I think they may take a look at this as well. Yep, here we go. Same play. Same sort of play. They're going to take a look at that and see if he came up underneath with the hook. They know that he impeded the progress. Now they're going to take a look to see if Holba, number 13, keep an eye right there. Yeah, I think that there's probably enough evidence to see where that elbow was. He kind of came in up here and hooked it. And that's going to be another F1.
And that's a flagrant one, is what you mean. So we've seen that go a couple of ways now. And the clarity of that foul looked, Sean, even more obvious than the call that went against Ohio State earlier.
Yeah, and just take another look. Down at the bottom of your screen, number 13 right there. His arm comes up underneath, impeding the ability of the Ohio State player to jump, and he was tied up with him all the way to the end. And then the officials came over and paid off the point, confirming that that was indeed the call. And then they passed it off with player safety, something we've been talking about.
Because this was not a rule change year in the NCAA. If you wanted to make a rule change, it had to be under that guise of player safety.
That's exactly right. And you know, they were able to incorporate that because it was, as you mentioned, a non-rule change year, but a point of emphasis, especially when it came out of the player safety / player welfare part of the ball game. They were able to get it incorporated as a point of emphasis.
Kicked ball, and a quick note about Jaden Ledee. Remember, playing in his first game for Ohio State, he badly missed his first free throw attempt as a Buckeye and has gone on to rattle off 6 straight.
I just have been impressed with how hard he's played. You know, I go back to that play in the first half. You can't make a guy want to be good. You can't make a guy want to compete. And the sprint that he had from the defensive end of the floor to the offensive end of the floor was very, very impressive. A lot of guys won't put forth that effort.
And fouls on Matt Weir of Purdue Fort Wayne. And Ohio State is in the double bonus. So 2 free throws right here for Keyshawn Woods. Playing in his only season of eligibility at Ohio State for the graduate transfer rule.
Started his career at Charlotte, then transferred to Wake Forest.
He was recruited actually by Chris Holtmann when he was coming out of high school in Gastonia, North Carolina. So they caught up eventually. He now has 7 points in the game. Joey Lane, the senior from Deerfield High School in Illinois, checks into the game, a crowd favorite. Payson Harrell turned away by Jaden Ledee. The volleyball spike.
How quick did he get off the floor?
Standing on a chair or something. Lane gets the basket. Over the outstretched arm of 6'11" Dylan Carl. And a travel. And Chris Holtmann continues to empty his bench. Here's redshirt junior Danny Hummer.
We talked about the hustle of Ledee. He's going to show you some athleticism. I mean, he got off the floor quickly. One step, boom, get that out. If this were a legal case, it was dismissed with extreme prejudice.
I thought you were an economics major.
Yeah, well, I'm still trying to figure out what path my life will lead there, right. Chris.
What a long, strange trip it's been.
Oh, that's for sure.
Another triple for Dwayne Washington. His 4th three-pointer of the game. And a turnover as Washington nearly blocked Payson Harrell a la Jaden Ledee. Justin Barnes, another freshman, a true freshman, getting some tick here. Missed his first field goal attempt as a Buckeye.
Big-time score at the high school level here in the state of Ohio, rather.
That's right, out of Versailles High School. Dylan Carl on Arns.
Nice.
With the left hand.
Showing a little versatility. You know, the big fella knocked down a couple of threes, but sets up post position. Good job of finishing with the off the left hand.
Ledee, long two-pointer. Book it. Good rotation on the ball.
Man, he shot that confident.
Yeah. Casey Harrell got the friendly roll. 11 points for Harrell out of Hempfield High School in Pittsburgh. What a move there by Washington. Great dish to Ledee, and he's fouled hard. He's had a couple of near slam dunk opportunities, and as my broadcast partner Sean Morris said, a little more time in the gym, big fella, and those will start to be dunks.
I've been having dreams.
They really got my attention in the season opening win versus Cincinnati, going into the hospital environment and showing you that the defense gives you a chance to win every ball game, and that is carried over into this ball game, the season opener here versus the Mastodons.
So the Cincinnati game was certainly no fluke. Comparable numbers defensively for Ohio State in their first two games of the season. Meanwhile, Jaden Ledee can practically pitch a tent at the free throw line in the second half. It's been awfully good from the foul line, too, as a matter of fact. 7 made free throws for Ledee, all after halftime. Holba, nice penetration, but he's blocked by Ledee, who's starting to feast here in the second half.
You know, Holba did a nice job of turning the corner, but when you faded away from the contact, that allowed Ledee to use his length and block his second shot here in the last 3 or 4 minutes of clock time.
Conchar off the mark, tipped right back to Carl. That was off an Ohio State player, and then Carl lost it in the lane.
Yeah, he went from 6'11" to 5'11" because he put the ball on the floor.
Into Ledee. Carl prized it out of there. You just look at defensively, you would think Dylan Carl at 6'11" would be on Ledee, but they've got Matt Holba on him at 6'7". Carl's battled foul trouble all night long. That's his fourth.
Nice looking stroke on the foul shot. And the reason that that ball went in, watch the backspin, watch the rotation from Ledee off his foul shot. You know, there's no side rotation, nice backspin. So even when it hits the rim as it did on the initial offering, you give yourself a chance because the ball goes up there softly.
It's been like a shoot-around for Jaden Ledee. So now 11 for 12 at the free throw line, plus 4 blocks. He became the 4th Ohio State Buckeye to reach double figures in the game. There's Matt Holba with another hard-earned point for Purdue Fort Wayne.
And to kind of pay off your earlier question, Chris, you know, another big difference in addition to the defense being played so far today and throughout the course of the early part of the season by Ohio State, you contrast the number of easy shots that Ohio State's been able to get compared to what the Mastodons have been able to get. That's the payoff, even though when the shot hasn't, you know, necessarily been the easiest thing for the Mastodons, there's always been somebody there to contest more times than not from Ohio State.
Even right there, as Holba is off the mark. Holba has made just 1 3-pointer in the game. And the crowd loves seeing Joey Lane drain the long jumper. 5 points for Lane, the 2-time academic All-Big Ten honor. Ledee nearly got his 5th block, but that had some air under it off the hand of Casey Harrell.
Going and playing Syracuse here, I mean, a lot of challenges for this young Buckeye squad.
And that game against Cleveland State the day after Thanksgiving takes place inside the venerable St. John's Arena, which is where you played when you were in the Big Ten.
Are you saying I'm old?
No, I'm saying that you are wise, my friend. Dwayne Washington has been lights out from 3. That's what I'm saying, too.
And you have to make sure, if you're taking a look at this as an opponent, potential future opponent of the Buckeyes, you want to make sure that when Washington catches the ball, regardless of how deep, that you're there on the catch and don't allow him to catch and release. Make him put the ball on the floor. His three-point shooting would certainly attest to that today.
And when you compare the two freshman headliners of the incoming class for Chris Holtmann, Dwayne Washington, and Luther Muhammad, again, it was talked about that Washington is the more offensive-oriented player, but then in the opener against Cincinnati, Washington scores 3 points, Muhammad scores 11. And then now today you're starting to see why offensively Dwayne Washington gives you a lot to work with the fluidity on that shot.
Yeah, nice job. He's made himself available, good spacing. And he's not seeing the floor either without being able to be a proficient defender, because that's the way that Ohio State is going to make their impact this year, especially in their early going with so many young players.
Washington around the screen. D. Montgomery gets right in his face with Washington's trigger ability.
Oh.
Look at how they set him up there in the corner. That was awesome.
And now, not only do you have to be there on the catch, but you have to have a hand up, because the defender from the Mastodons was there. He just had his hand down, and Washington able to shoot up over the top.
Incidental foul right at midcourt, but Dwayne Washington with 4 threes in the second half alone. He's got a 20-piece in his first home game as a Buckeye.
At the line, shooting 2 for the Mastodons, number 33, Matt Weir.
By the way, Dwayne Washington, the nephew of Derek Fisher, the 5-time NBA champion.
Former coach at the NBA level as well.
Weir goes 2 for 2 at the line. His first 2 points of the game.
One minute remaining in the game.
16-footer for Jaden Ledee. Well, Ohio State put its foot on the gas pedal to start the second half, and they have not let up. An impressive offensive display by Ohio State in the second half, and pretty darn good defense from start to finish today.
Yeah, that's what really set the tone here for the Buckeyes, much like their season opening win on the road at Cincinnati. It's been the defensive end of the floor. The Mastodons were well within striking distance when this second half began, but the Buckeyes were able to pull away because they were able to wear down Purdue Fort Wayne on the defensive end of the floor, and then the offense caught up. And because of how hard they played on the defensive end of the floor, they started to wear down Purdue Fort Wayne a little bit. And as a result, the shots that might have been a little bit more hotly contested in the first half become easier shots because Purdue Fort Wayne just wasn't able to close out as aggressively.
And Dylan Carl has just fouled out for Purdue Fort Wayne. And remember, you started to think with Purdue Fort Wayne's pedigree for playing the Big Ten very tough, specifically Indiana. When the Mastodons opened up 4 of 5 from long range, you thought, here we go again. But since that hot start, Purdue Fort Wayne has gone just 2 of 22 from three-point range.
Yeah, and this game is going to be an outlier in the negative sense for Purdue Fort Wayne. This score is not going to be, in my opinion, indicative of the type of season that the Mastodons are capable of achieving. A lot of good players led by Conchar and Harrell. They just weren't able to get things going here on the offensive end of the floor in the second half. But this is a team that's going to contend, along with South Dakota State, certainly, who's the favorite in the Summit League. But Purdue Fort Wayne is going to be a contender in the Summit League without question.
Their preseason picked by Blue Ribbon to finish 3rd. Last year, Purdue Fort Wayne was 18-15, but that broke a streak of back-to-back 20-win seasons for John Kaufman and John Conchar. Who knows? They could get into the NCAA tournament. Very much a shot to win the Summit League tournament. It was a 5-point game with 19 minutes to go in the second half, and Ohio State